has come to my attention that Citrus is quite an underrated anime, and I don't know why. Back when I started watching it, I've only seen one other Yuri anime, and that was Blooming to You, and it was good. But Citrus was way more than that. The story of Citrus caught my attention from the first 5 minutes of the anime. It was so different from what I usually watch that I got immersed in the show before I even knew it. Now the show follows the story of two teenage girls named Aihara Yuzu and Aihara Mei. Mei's dad married Yuzu's mom, thus making the two girls stepsisters. Now Mei is the student council president at their school, and with her grandfather being the chairman of the school, she must uphold all the school rules and regulations. What's more, she aspires to become the next chairman herself. But her whole life is turned upside down by none other than Yuzu herself, who doesn't care much about school rules, especially the dress code. As long as she can look fabulous and cute, then everything will be okay. Now of course, hearing that Mei is gonna be her younger sister brought her a lot of joy. But unfortunately, Mei wasn't all that happy. As a matter of fact, Mei wasn't much of a social type, and at first she didn't care much about who Yuzu was. But that didn't stop Yuzu from trying to break her shell. It was hard at first, of course, but what made it even harder was when Mei kissed her. It didn't have any meaning, but that kiss changed something inside Yuzu. With each passing episode, Yuzu realizes that she's beginning to fall in love with Mei, and because of that, she keeps trying to get closer to her. Now of course, Mei starts to respond to those feelings little by little, but as expected, there would be obstacles. And those obstacles come in the shape of Himeko Momokino and Matsuri Mizusawa. Now Himeko is the student council vice president and also Mei's closest and childhood friend. Now since the very beginning, Himeko has seen Yuzu as a threat. At first it was just because of how Yuzu was and because of her not following the school rules. But then things become worse for her after seeing Yuzu with Mei. She couldn't understand why her best friend would stick together with such a delinquent. Of course, she later found out that the two are sisters, but that wouldn't stop Himeko from trying to keep them apart. At school at least. But unfortunately, her plans kept failing, and soon enough, she started to loosen up a bit. One could say that she too is in love with Mei, but I for one would say that she is always looking up to her with admiration. As for Matsuri, she is Yuzu's childhood friend who she hasn't seen in years. Matsuri is a very outgoing person and also someone who isn't afraid to get her hands dirty. She soon finds out about Yuzu and Mei and how Mei takes Yuzu's feelings for granted. She then decides to take the matters into her own hands and help Yuzu out. She confronts Mei about it and, like Himeko, decides to keep them apart. Now Matsuri's methods might not be the best, but she still wants the best for Yuzu. Now Yuzu being Yuzu, she doesn't like that idea and decides to stick with Mei whether she can get through to her or not. So Matsuri doesn't have any other choice but to step down and support her friend in her quest for love. And finally there's Harumi Taniguchi, who is Yuzu's best friend. She supports Yuzu through thick and thin, no matter what problems she may face. Now although she didn't know that Yuzu was in love with Mei, she knew something was up and she would always give Yuzu a listening ear or help out whenever she could, especially when it came to dealing with Himeko and Matsuri. Now I love how the show follows the story of each character. It doesn't just focus on Yuzu and Mei. Each of them has a part to play and a story of their own that they have to deal with. The animation is great as well, and the opening theme song is the type that can get you hooked on the show for good. It's the kind of anime that takes your feelings on a very long and emotional roller coaster, and when it finally comes to an end, it's very hard to get off. The manga is just as amazing, and I would seriously urge you to read it after you're done with the anime. Cause you know how there are anime or manga that leave you with such a satisfying feeling, but also tug on your heart when it ends? Well, that is Citrus. It's such a great show, and I seriously urge you to all watch it, because there's no way you won't come to love it.